Kei te harikoa te rōpū tōrangapū Māori I te whakamanatanga o te pire takutai moana hei ture I te Neiwiki. E ono tekau mā toru ngā pōti whakae, e 56 ngā pōti whakahē. Nā tēnei ture hou ka tāia e te Māori ona tika ki ngā takutai moana te whakamātautau anō ki roto I ngā kōti. Nā tēnei ture hou, kua kore te ture o te taurua mano mā whā. E mea ana te rōpū tōrangapū Māori, he mea pai tēnei. Engari hei tā etahi o te hunga tautoko I a rātau, he raupatu anō, he kaikai waiū, he tohu hoki o te mutunga o te rōpū tōrangapū Māori, hei reo mō tātou I roto I te whare pāremata. Jody Ihaka joined the final leg of the hikoi.
Ko te tino ranga tiratanga ko ngaro I te ture nei, ko te mana o te tangata whenua kua ngaro I te ture I mahia I te rānei. I don't think I could say it any better than that. And in fact, I'll probably quote him when I get to the third reading on this bill.
Araha mai, tari ana. Ka te maharake, kia mere riki riki. Ka te maharake, kia pina kupa. Ka te maharake, kia tairangi ka. Ko mea mā, ko mea, e nui ana koutou, te mawahine.
Well, history was present today because Murupainga was here in 1975 with Whinakupa. So it's extraordinary that someone of that vintage should be back here making that message again. But without a doubt, the issue hasn't been settled to anyone's satisfaction. The issue, though, mustn't be allowed to divide us as Māori between iwi and iwi, but without a doubt there's more work to be done. I think just looking at the bill leaves you with that impression, quite apart from the rather poignant message given by Murupainga. Well, you know, Māori, our masters at ceremony and symbolism when they want to be, and really the power of symbol as a method of instruction both to our young people, to ourselves, and I suppose to the politicians shouldn't be underestimated. But the real symbolism and its potential potent consequences lie with our friends in the Māori Party. Well, because of the divisions in their own party, I think it's fair to say that no politician wants to be given symbols that have, for all intents and purposes, the meaning of a corpse, and presumably that's indicative of how a lot of Māori Party former supporters feel about the party. But I mean, it's all figurative, isn't it?
Joining me today is Fred Te Miha, one of the original claimants whose legal action led to the takutai moana law. And in Wellington, mā Tānuku Mahuika, who represents Ngāti Porou, who have actually cut their own foreshore and seabed deal. And the co-leader of the Māori Party, Dr. Peter Sharples. Can I start with you, Minister? Kia ora.
Sure.
Kia ora.
Tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe. When you see vision of that hikoi and the symbolism around the death of the Māori Party, how does that make you feel?
I am not disturbed by that. As Shane said, we are masters of symbolism, and that was their protest against the Māori Party. It was a very good one, but we're far from dead, very far from dead. In fact, I'm glad that this act has been passed. It allows the process to go on. We promised two things: repeal, and we promised opening up the courts again. And we've done those two things.
Why do you think then Māori are still so unhappy that you've done that, given that you actually achieved what you set out to do?
Because the bar has been lifted. People saw the activity that we're out should be to get back the ownership of the whole forward seabed and not just what we said we'd do. So that means when so much of it is in private title, that stops for a start. Cities grew up, they occupy a lot of the foreshore and seabed. So in this day and age, it's impractical to give back the foreshore and seabed to Māori. So it's about the foreshore and seabed that's left. And so that's why we've established the route back to court. They are unhappy because the tests are too hard, and I agree with them. They are too hard. So for us, it was a question of, do we just drop everything and forget about that march, 35,000 people, or do we open the way up so people can test their case with the law and with the courts, or direct negotiation, which is an option for them.
Indeed. Fred, as one of the original claimants, how do you feel about what's happened now?
Well, I believe we're worse off than we were in 2003.
Why is that?
Well, the 2004 bill said we had to go to court and prove we had continuous use of the foreshore and seabed for Kaimoana customary title.
Can your iwi prove that?
No, I don't believe many iwi in the country can prove that.
Will you be the first iwi to test case this?
No, we won't. The South Island has come together as iwi. We will do it together, whatever we have to do. And I don't know what we're going to do at this stage.
When you see images of the final hiko to Parliament and talk around the death of the Māori Party, what do you think about that?
The Marae Party will have to change its ways. I was one of the foundation members of the Marae Party when it began. And I've always said they should not have formed any allegiances or alliances with any existing political party. The reason being they could cross the floor at any given time when they didn't agree with certain things. That hasn't happened. Now, I believe the National Party, the government, is having a lot of pull on the strings.
Someone who's probably benefited from this, Mā Tānuku representing Ngāti Porou, what's been your reaction to this?
Kia ora, Jodie. Tēnā koutou.
Kia ora.
We're supporters of the bill, well, now the Act, actually. The reason that we support it is that we see it as a step forward. I think what we need to be mindful of when we look at this issue is the difficult nature of the political climate around this entire issue. And I think that what the Māori Party has done in this instance, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not an apologist for them, is a positive thing. It's moved us a step in the right direction, maybe several steps in the right direction in terms of this legislation. The 2004 Act did a number of things, I think, which were onerous. The first thing is that the test was high under that Act. It placed a lot of the burden on the iwi to prove basically everything, including that their interest hadn't been extinguished. That test is now more balanced. One of the consequences of the 2004 Act is that even if you went to court and established that you had customary title or whatever the equivalent was, essentially all that did was entitle you to negotiate. Now you have an opportunity to go to court to get customary title. There's a level of certainty as to what you can obtain as an outcome. But there is still scope within this area to negotiate as well. I actually think that part of the issue is that we've dealt with just one part of this topic, and that's dealing with the issue of customary title. So what we're talking about, and Fred makes a valid point, is we're talking about customary title that has remained since 1840 through to now. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of it probably has been lost. And that will affect the majority of the iwi. And what has happened is that those are treaty claims sort of issues, treaty settlement types of issues, actually, because you're really looking at redressing a situation or a wrong that you're saying that's been done to you, rather than dealing with the situation about proving the continued existence of title.
Minister,
so the bit that we're missing here really is that there is no clear indication or direction yet as to how those sorts of issues are going to be addressed. We've dealt with the title part of it. We haven't dealt with the, if you like, the historical claims aspect of it as it relates to the foreshore and seabed.
So what does this actually mean, Minister? When you hear Fred's concerns, what is the next step for the Māori Party?
Well, the Māori Party, let's get this clear, we are only a catalyst. We are there, a bridge between iwi and Māori and hapu and the government. We don't make the rules, we negotiate, we allow the Māori people to negotiate, and we help that negotiation take place. We're not tino rangatiratanga while we're in Parliament. We are kāwanatanga, we're part of the government. And what Fred said about he didn't want us to join any party, If you're not in government, you just throw stones all the time and you achieve nothing. If you look at whānau ora, prisons that return people home, a review of the Māori language, a review of the Constitution and the treaty, these are just some of the things that we've been able to achieve. And we couldn't do that if we were in opposition. We'd have no show.
Is that enough for your iwi, Fred?
No.
What do you want to happen next?
Well, let's have a look at absentee landlords that own blue water title. Most of them are foreigners. They are not penalised like iwi Marae katoa. They haven't even come into the equation, and yet they can actually own the foreshore and seabed. And there is quite a few in this country. The deals, I believe, were done with the without public consultation.
What's your response to this so far, Minister?
Yeah, he's probably right. But, you know, I don't know how those deals were done at all, but let's be very clear about this. A lot of the foreshore and seabed is owned by Māori, not just Pākehā, plus the cities and the ports and all those things. So it's impractical to say that those lands are now going to go back to Māori. And we should just enjoy them as New Zealanders. That's part of our foreshore and seabed.
Indeed. I just want to ask Mātānuku, what are Ngāti Porou's plans? Under this new law, you know, did you get exactly what you wanted out of your deal with the government?
We'd always... The deal that we signed in 2008 was, as much as anything, we figured, well, OK, this is what we're prepared to sign up to, given the current political circumstances and given the law as it then stood. There was if you like, a certain strategic decision that we took, because we didn't know what the shape of the government would be after 2008. What we did know is that Labour wouldn't be if you like, the principal party in government. So we really needed to... We'd made a lot of progress with Dr Cullen and Labour, and we really wanted to lock in that progress. But we had always pushed for things such as a test that was more balanced, such as the ability to actually get title.
OK, kia ora, thanks very much,
We also thought it was double jeopardy, making us go through a negotiation process and then have to go off to court to prove it.
Indeed.
So, you know, the Act delivers a number of those things, although I do accept people's comments that the test is still a rigid test. It's still a high threshold for people to cross. And I think that's part of the reason why you are still getting opposition from Māori groups too.
Indeed, and we look forward to talking to you and our other guests on this very subject again in the future. Kia ora, thank you very much, Scotty.
Kia ora, Jodie, tēnā koutou ngā manu kōrero o te ata nei.